It's predicted that by 2025, over 36 million Americans will be working remotely. Given what we all experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic, that statistic might not be that shocking to you at this point. In fact, you're probably thinking that that statistic makes a lot of sense. Maybe you're even watching this video while you're working from home right now. Yet, I'd wager to bet that if you had read the same statistical conclusion during your pre-2020 life, it would have shocked you. Although many jobs started to accept a more remote style during that time, it wasn't even close to the rate the future holds. The same source states that the amount of remote workers has increased by over 87%. If you're a part of the majority of that statistic, you're happy about the general heading of the corporate 9-to-5 lifestyle. So happy, in fact, that you may be willing to give up other benefits your job offers in place by working remotely. According to CBRE, that's how 70% of millennials think when it comes to having a flexible working space. Allowing employees to work from home isn't easy for every organization, though. Certain industries handle sensitive information as part of their daily operations. This makes it much harder for the companies within them to provide such a perk to their employees. Healthcare is one of those industries that I'm referring to specifically. Doctors' offices, hospitals, and even businesses that help medical professionals so that they don't burn out on their job all work with Protected Health Information, or PHI. As a result, they need to follow the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, aka Hipaa. If you're familiar with the requirements of that law, your next question, I imagine, is, can companies who need to follow Hipaa even allow remote work? Hi everyone, I'm Matt from eTactics, and today I'm going to explain Hipaa work from home requirements. Before we get started though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the button below. While you're down there, hit that alert bell icon next to it as well, so when we post new helpful content, you get notified. The short answer to the question I posed in the beginning of this video is yes. But getting to that answer is a little bit more complicated than you might think. First, let's look at the law's requirements itself. At the time of this video, Hipaa doesn't contain a section within it that explicitly states requirements for organizations to follow when it comes to remote work and telehealth. What I mean by that is the law doesn't come flat out and say, before your employees log in from their home offices, you must complete the following steps. Although that would save healthcare organizations and their business associates a lot of time, that's just not the case. However, Hipaa's list of requirements provided as safeguards within the privacy and security rules still apply. In other words, you need to make sure that you can still follow each safeguard that's given within the law in a remote setting. Now, the law itself is flexible so that organizations are free to decide what processes and policies they need to put in place. Also so that they're free to choose what vendors to partner with to help them along the way. The pessimist would say that the law isn't that flexible. It's ambiguous. I'll admit I've even thought about that opinion before. In other words, Hipaa's work from home requirements are your responsibility to put in place. Yet you need to be able to stay in compliance with all of the safeguards, otherwise you'll end up with a massive fine on your hand. Since the Department of Health and Human Services keeps Hipaa requirements adaptable, what requirements should you impose on your employees who want to work from home? Well, before you allow anything, you need to make sure that you put in a series of policies in place. These policies are your Hipaa work from home requirements. The policies you come up with right here not only protect your organization in the case of an audit, but also guide your remote workers to ensure that they're working in a secure environment. That's very important because after all, your employees are your biggest risk from a cybersecurity perspective. Sure, that's a harsh statement, but they're also one of the most common causes for Hipaa violations, whether it be from gossip or unintentionally. Now that I've set the stage, let's talk about some of the most important requirements to put in place. That way, you may allow your healthcare employees to work from home. Luckily, data already exists that points out the biggest challenges that organizations run into when they had no choice but to allow their employees to work from home during 2020. 55.4% of organizations say that their biggest challenges in working from home is training employees on how to most securely and compliantly work from home. In other words, that's probably a good place to start. Finally, let's talk about what happens if you aren't Hipaa compliant and allow your employees to work remotely. I will warn you though, the consequences for violating Hipaa with a remote workforce are severe. This is most likely attributable to the fact that it's a new way of working. A cancer facility faced a $750,000 fine in 2015 for Hipaa violations that happened in a telecommunications setting. The breach in question took place 3 years prior in 2012. One of their employees lost their work-issued laptop and backup drive due to car theft. The odds of that scenario happening are low. It seems like one of those situations where the stars aligned and the employee was an unfortunate victim. Nevertheless, though, the Office of Civil Rights, or the OCR, found that the Cancer Center failed to mitigate such a risk by not implementing basic measures required by the Hipaa security rule. Hipaa doesn't come out and flat out tell you what its work from home requirements are. Although that means you don't have a how-to guide laid out for you, it's actually advantageous on your behalf. Learn from the mistakes of other healthcare organizations who have already paid a hefty price for their violations and companies in other industries who have already allowed their workforce to log in from a remote location. If you'd like to learn more about Hipaa work from home requirements, reach out to eTactics. And you already made this far into the video, so you might as well like it, share it, and comment below. What are you waiting for? Subscribe to our YouTube channel.